Och nu får vi alla möjlighet att träna på vår skolengelska här. För nu ska Carlos de Sousa, CEO for Immunicum, take the stage. You're going to do it in English as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Good luck.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. And thank you for being here to listen and learn about Immunicum. Because as some of you know, we are a publicly listed company. I need to show you this slide. So what is Immunicum in a very brief description before I give you some details? We are what is called a clinical stage biopharmaceutical company, and we are developing new cancer treatments to help the patient own immune system to fight the cancer cells. And we are a clinical stage because we are already, advanced in phase 2. We have more than 90 patients treated with our product. And the main objective that we want is to help the patient immune system, that is the natural killer of the tumor cells, to do their job. What normally doesn't happen in the cancer patients, because as you know, the immune system is reduced in terms of efficacy, and that's the big problem. So as I mentioned to you, we are currently in phase 2. In this study is to treat kidney cancer patients. So what we want basically to achieve with our treatment is to improve the patient survival, and also, hopefully, of course, cure the cancer. And we can treat pretty much all of the solid tumors. We are based and founded in Sweden, already founded in 2002. And we are traded now in the NASDAQ main market since January. Our market cap is approximately 340 million Swedish krona, and we have cash at the end of the first quarter of about 168 million. So, going a little bit into more detail, we have quite a unique approach to improve and stimulate the patient immune system. This is done through allogeneic and off-the-shelf cell-based products that are going to activate the patient immune system. And what does this mean? Allogeneic, as I will explain to you, means that these cells are taken from healthy donors, like blood donors. Is that instead of taking the full blood, we just take some of the cells. And off-the-shelf, as I will show, is very important, these two characteristics, to differentiate us from a lot of other cell-based products. Allogeneic and off-the-shelf means that it is ready to be administered whenever it's needed. We have quite promising clinical data that I will show you, showing really the objective that you want to have in terms of efficacy. And so we have quite a profile that puts us as a key component of today's treatment of cancer that is done through combination of products. So the type of tumors that we are treating are quite big. So this is also provides a big market, and because it's quite a high unmet medical need. One key differentiator too is that we have an excellent safety profile, and this is very important in this field because the patients have a lot, besides the disease, all the other treatments. So it's important that when we add our product to other products in combinations, we don't burden the patient with additional side effects. And as I will show you, also have quite a robust manufacturing process in place. So, we have a very big opportunity in terms of growth as a company, of course, for our investors, but also providing a solution for these cancer patients that don't have a lot of alternatives. So as value points for the company, we are quite, as I mentioned, differentiated. We have now 2 studies completed, 2 studies ongoing, 1 study in planning. We have now having currently and starting soon to have data in renal cancer, liver cancer, head and neck cancer, lung cancer, and gastric cancer. And of course, the expected value inflection point for our investors is through a partnering deal with a big pharma, the company being acquisition acquired or through collaborations. So quite a diverse set of opportunities for our investors. And this is also true because in the last couple of years, these what is called cancer immunotherapies are becoming more and more important with new data coming into this field. So it's a lot of innovation, is very rapid in terms of development, and all the big pharmas that have products in this field, the immuno-oncology space, are looking for alternatives for these combinations. Very recent already this year, recent deals like Viralytics, a company in Australia that was acquired by, $300 and something million, and also Nektar that has a deal with Bristol Myers Squibb in excess of $1 billion. So, a lot of things happening in this field is a very fast growing, expected to reach in 2022, $76 billion in sales. And there's also becoming, in terms of already, but more into the future as what the chemotherapy was before for the treatment of cancer. It's now expected really that immunotherapy will become the future of treating cancer. So this is a very well-known graph. It's called the cancer immunity cycle. You see here, this area here is what we call the cancer cells. I normally used to compare that to a fortress, a castle. So the tumor cells, when they invade the body in the patient, they create their own castle with protections and defenses against the patient immune system. What happens is that, by these guys, they protect, and the patient immune system cannot really kill the tumor cells because they are protected. So there is a class of drugs that is on this side, on your right side, that is whose mechanism of action is to destroy the defenses of the tumor cells. So I normally compare that, and these classes are the checkpoint inhibitors, the big class now, even some chemotherapy. They are going to destroy the big gate, the strong door that gives access to the inside of the castle, to the tumor. The problem is in a lot of these patients, the army, the immune cells are in very small numbers, and they are very weak because the tumor creates this type of environment, very not really helping the patient immune system. So a lot of these patients don't respond to these treatments, or they relapse. The tumor, the cancer comes back again. So what do? Basically, we are on the side and we activate, we strengthen the patient immune system. So basically, compare that to these classes of drugs. The checkpoint inhibitors destroy the gate, and we provide very strong troops to go into the castle and destroy the tumor. So when you have these two classes of drugs acting in combination, you have then the destruction of the castle, the destruction of the tumor. Destroying the defenses, but then activating really the patient own immune cells. It is the troops that is going to then kill the tumor cells. So very important to use in combination. Our product, as I mentioned, very important, as I said, is allogeneic, means that it's from healthy donors and is off the shelf. So what we do is these are normal, as I mentioned, normal blood donors, healthy individuals. We just take cells. These cells are then activated with a cocktail of chemokines and cytokines and make them extremely pro-inflammatory, means that they are going to induce an inflammation when they are injected. And then when they are in this stage, we freeze these cells. So then we can keep these vials, you see here, a vial, in the hospital shelf. We already passed 3 years shelf life, so the product just sits there, and when it's needed, then we are going to inject it into the patient. So currently, from one healthy donor, we extract about 100 doses. In kidney cancer, we treat with 2 doses, so from one donor, we can treat about 50 patients. The important part also, as a differentiation, is that the product is the same, regardless of what is the type of tumor that the patient has and what patient is. So, you can use the product regardless of the patient type and the type of tumor. And that is also very important. We currently manufacturing in Germany, and we already also can send the product to not only to European countries, but to the US, as we already have a clearance from the FDA, the US health authorities, to import the product. But let me give you a little bit in terms of the results from the first study. The first study that was already completed years ago was in kidney cancer. These patients were newly diagnosed, and in addition to the main tumor, they also had metastasis. And they were treated with 2 doses of our product, 2 weeks apart, injected into the tumor. And then if they will progress, the kidney was removed, and then if they will progress, they will be treated with the standard of care. What you see here was the results already published last year, where the median overall survival in the study was 48 months, 4 years. And this is when you compare with the standard of care, that is about 15 to 16 months. So it's not a big number of patients, but quite extended, triple of the survival of these patients. And also, in January, 3 out of these 11 patients were still alive, already passing the 5 years survival. One of those patients is this one here that we just use as an example of the value of the combination. He had several lung metastases, several liver metastases, and then he developed 4 brain metastases. And this is like, there's no really happy outcomes for these patients. Anyway, he was treated with standard of care that is known to do 0 activity in the brain metastases, but sunitinib reduced the number of tumor cells in the rest of the body and gave opportunity for the patient immune system, those activated cells, to go and destroy these metastases here. So this patient in January was still alive after 57 months. He has no brain metastasis, no liver metastasis. He had 1 small lung metastasis that was removed surgically, so he is metastasis free. And this is the value. It's one case, but just to tell the value of the combination and this synergistic effect between the classes of drugs. So in addition to the study, the one I just showed you, that is completed, we also have a phase 2 study. This is a bigger study where you have 2 comparative arms, one with a combination versus the patient with the monotherapy. We finish enrollment in January, 88 patients, 58 in the combination, 30 in the mono. And the study is in 8 European countries and also the US. And we expect to get announce the top-line results 3rd quarter 2019. So the patients are already enrolled. We are just following them up. We also completed last year another study, phase 1b, in liver cancer. We already announced the results showing that we see the same safety, excellent safety, but also some initial clinical efficacy. And we are in the process of submitting the results for publication. We also just recently completed a project in collaboration with the Karolinska Hospital in gastrointestinal stromal tumors. This is a rare disease, only 200 cases in Sweden. But most importantly is the future, the new study that we are going to initiate this year. As I mentioned to you, the checkpoint inhibitors are the big class of drugs. So what we did, we started looking at, as normally companies do, looking at animal studies. So what you see here is the group of animals that were treated with these checkpoint inhibitors. They were all dead at day 24. But the animals treated with a combination of our cells plus the checkpoint inhibitors, 50% of them were still alive after 24 days. So, these are animal studies. You cannot extrapolate, but just to show that the difference between this group and the survival is because of the combination with our cells. So this is why, we have been preparing and submitting to the FDA a new study in three new types of tumors: head and neck cancer, lung cancer, gastric cancer. These are big indications. The checkpoint inhibitors have a relatively modest efficacy, less than 30%. And so we are going to combine our cells plus the checkpoint inhibitors versus the checkpoint inhibitors alone. And in this way provide the benefit. As we have communicated, we expect to start enrolling patients the second half of this year. We will give more details when the first patient is enrolled, but then we will be able to provide regular information to our shareholders, as we progress with the phase 1b, because it's going to give us already safety and initial indications of efficacy. And this, of course, also expand the number of tumors that we are treating and reduces the risk to the company and the investors. And you see here the size of these indications, several $1 billion. And as I mentioned to you, the important part is that most of the current sales are from these big companies with the checkpoint inhibitors. But we are not going to compete with them. We are going to be used in combination with them. So you see here that, as usual, we are talking with all of these big companies, and they are just waiting for the data from this phase 2 study, because then the idea is that these are potential partners because we'll be using in combination with any of them. As a company, we have been active in the past year. As I mentioned to you, we uplisted to the NASDAQ main market in January. We raised, before expenses, 200 million SEK in December, January. We also have made several publications. We finished the enrollment of the current phase 2. We finished in kidney cancer. We finished the liver cancer study. We have been doing several publications, and also very important for the company, because this is a very specialized field, recruiting people with the right expertise to help the company to progress. So this is what you see now. We have all these new indications, the existing ones plus the news to start, plus 2 additional platforms in preclinical. And what you are going to see in terms of announcements this year, the initial results of the new study that we are going to start enrolling patients, and several publications and potential collaborations. And of course, 2019, along all the way during 2019, communication on the new study. And of course, the big point of the results of the MORECA study, that is the phase 2 that I mentioned to you in the third quarter 2019, plus also the results in the GIST study. So as a company, I think we are now in a much solid place, with the uplisting, with the capital raise, with the new study really diversifying the risk to the company, and really showing that we can become a key component of the combinations that is really the future of treatment of cancer. In terms of production, is very not impacting on the cost. The cost of goods doesn't impact on the margins versus some other products. So a good return on investment. As I mentioned to you, excellent safety profile, very, very positive in our discussions, and also the positive results. So, with a company that is now past the review of the NASDAQ, moved to the main market, the cash, the data that we have, and expecting the short-term new data coming up, We are continuously presenting the company to potential investors and to potential partners, not only in Sweden, but the rest of Europe and also in the US. So a lot of expectation for the company, and we expect to continue delivering as we have been delivering during all of the past year and until now in everything that we told the market. So with this, I'm happy to, again, thank you for listening, and happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Carlos. Welcome over here to my table. First of all, I understood your lead project is in phase 2 around, and what can one expect if you want to invest in Immunicum to when it's going to reach market? How does that time frame work?
It's going to be depending on the results, so if there are spectacular results, of course, you can, in some cases, get a faster with a conditional approval by the authorities. The rest, normally we cannot give those type of projections in terms of when it's going to reach the market. Quite honestly, also for the company, the most natural development is to, because the potential is so big in the number of type of cancers that you want to run a phase 3, that is the next phase, that will be very difficult for us as a small biotech to do it alone. So the natural path is to enter into a collaboration with one of the pharma companies to really increase the number of tumors that we can move forward. And of course, that will be a quicker return to the investors.
That was actually my next question. I'm looking on the more commercial side. How does this work? How do you go through with the work to finding new partners and collaboration? How does it work for Immunicum?
Well, what we have been doing now for, basically since I joined in October 2016 is to talk with all the potential partners, that most of them are the big companies. So what you need to do is a regular contact with them, give them an update on the data. Every time we have new data, we update them so that they are familiar with us, familiar with our data, so that when we get the results of the phase 2, that is the key results, then they are ready to enter into a potential licensing collaboration. So it's important that we have the right contacts, what we have at the moment. We are in regular contact with them, giving the update on, for instance, the non-clinical data that I show you. Every time we have new data on the new studies, that is the most important thing, so that then they are already familiar with us, familiar with our technology, with our products, so that any partnering discussion can happen faster.
And if and when your products reach the market, how long are your products protected with your patents?
So we have existing patents, before extensions, that is normal until 2031, plus extensions. But the key differentiation in this type of products, cell-based products, is that you don't need just a patent, because these are very specialized products. Basically, even after the patent, a company will need to repeat all the clinical studies to then be able to bring to the market. So if it's a pill, they can use the data produced by the other company, the generics. There are, in cell-based therapies, you need to produce the whole data because the authorities consider each product to be unique, individual. So that gives additional protection to the product.
And I also wondering if you can talk a little bit more about the regulatory challenges for Immunicum. Now you're entering like a later phase, so to speak, than many other of the company we have here today. And what can one expect? Is it hard to get, let's say, recruit patients for your studies?
So from a regulatory perspective, of course, is the first hurdle. I think, as you mentioned, we are already more advanced. For instance, for the new study we are initiating now, that is going to be primarily in the US, because we already had previously the approval from the FDA to initiate studies in the US. Now we don't need to file all the documentation. We just need to submit to them what is the new protocol. So the fact that we have also been talking with the European authorities to find, so the European authorities are already familiar with our product. They already saw it. They already approved us to initiate clinical trials. As a matter of fact, we just recently also got one of the first certifications for a cell-based therapy as we communicated, and this is very important. This is on the regulatory pathway. In terms of recruitment, we were also very careful. We did a very thorough strategic review when we selected lung, head and neck cancer, and gastric adenocarcinoma. We selected indications, types of tumors that are big, very high unmet medical need, where the checkpoint inhibitors are already standard of care, so these patients are already being treated with those classes. And also, very importantly, as you mentioned, where we can recruit patients. Because in some indications it's very difficult to recruit patients. For instance, skin cancer, melanoma is a very easy type of cancer to inject because it's very superficial, but there's very few patients available to enroll in clinical trials worldwide. I'm not even just talking about Sweden. So we were also very carefully in selecting these indications to make sure that we will be able to recruit patients. At the moment, we are already talking with the centers that are going to run the new study, and there's a lot of excitement behind the product because again, it's very unique. The safety, even now recently at ASCO, that is the biggest cancer conference in the world, 40,000 people in Chicago, has been more and more data and enthusiasm about the immunotherapy, about the cell-based therapies to activate the patient immune system. So that also creates excitement from the investigators, the hospitals that will be participating in the clinical trial.
Vi har några minuter över här. Om det har dykt upp frågor i publiken, ni kan ställa dem på både svenska och engelska. Ska jag försöka översätta om det är så. Inga frågor. Maybe then we can go for maybe we can go and look on you just raised 200 million SEK. And although it sounds much, it's easy to burn that when you are like in the later phases. Like how long do you think this capital gonna last for Immunicum?
So as I mentioned, we raised 200 million before expenses. We have now at the end of the first quarter 168 million, and as we gave guidance, we expect this cash to bring the company to the end of next year.
To the end of next year?
End of next year, towards the end of next year. So.
All right. Thank you very much. Och har ni dykt upp lite frågor kan ni ta honom här ute i Company Corner.
Sorry, there's
one. We can have one.
The share value has lost 70% in 1 year. What's the reason and how do you look for the future?
I have to repeat the question for the online. You have lost almost 70%, you said, and it was quite frank. What's the reason?
It's a very excellent question. I don't normally comment on the share price because it's the part I don't have control. I think that as for the shareholders and investors to look at, what I can tell you is that as a company, everything that we committed to our investors to deliver, we delivered. We closed the enrollment, we finished and announced the results on the liver study, we uplisted the company to the main market, we raised the money, we are going to start a new study. So everything that is under the control of the management and the board, we have been delivering. I think the natural is that the market will recognize that. And again, we will be continuously bringing additional news and value inflection points. The rest is for the investors, and I think you also need to look at how analysts look at the valuation of the company when they really look at what will be the current value for the company, and they are independent. For me, I can only comment that we deliver everything that we promise without delays, and that should be recognized at some point in time.
All right. Happy? Perfect. Thank you.